Alien warrior thought Earth's gravity was a joke, until she ended up on her knees. The cold of space was always sharp at Aurora Station, but today it felt sharper than usual. Metallic corridors hummed softly under the station's artificial lights, echoing the footsteps of its residents. Aurora Station, humanity's first deep space research hub, floated silently above a distant, icy planet. Scientists, engineers, and explorers moved through the corridors with purpose, their minds full of experiments, reports, and calculations. To them, the station was both home and work, a small piece of humanity among the endless stars. Captain Elias moved through the halls with the calm certainty of someone who had spent years in space. His uniform, crisp and practical, carried the slight scuff marks of decades of service. Despite the constant hum of machinery and the occasional alarm test, he never seemed rushed. Space had a way of teaching patience, and Elias had learned that lesson well. Today, though, there was something different in the air, something that made his instincts sharpen. He rounded a corner near the observation deck and stopped. There against the wall was a figure, small, shivering, almost invisible in the shadows. Elias' first thought was that it was a crew member, maybe a technician who had slipped off duty, but something about the figure made him pause. The figure was not human. It was tall but fragile-looking, with skin that shimmered slightly under the lights like liquid silver. Its eyes were large, round, and filled with fear. Its hands trembled as it clutched itself, curling inward like it was cold or afraid or both. Elias took a slow step forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Hey," he said gently, "it's okay, you're safe here." The figure flinched at the sound of his voice but did not move away. It looked as if it wanted to run, but its body refused. Elias noticed the subtle trembling, and without thinking, he removed his jacket and draped it over the figure's shoulders. The effect was immediate. The figure stiffened, then relaxed slightly. A soft sound escaped its throat, a sigh maybe or the beginning of a tear, and then it began to cry, quietly at first, then louder until Elias could see the wet streaks on its cheeks. He stayed still, letting it cry. In space, patience was always rewarded, and right now the alien needed time. Minutes passed. The station's usual noise faded into the background. The hum of engines, the faint beeps from monitors, the distant chatter, all of it became irrelevant. There was only the small, trembling figure and the human who had given it comfort. Elias didn't know its name, or even if it had one. But he didn't need to. Names were not important in moments like this. What mattered was understanding, connection, and trust. When the crying subsided slightly, Elias crouched to meet the figure's gaze. Its large eyes reflected a mix of fear and awe. Elias gave a small nod. "I'm Elias," he said softly. "I'm human, I want to help you." The figure's lips moved, making strange sounds that Elias could not recognize. He tilted his head, trying to listen. It was language, perhaps, but one that humans had never encountered before. Still, the message was clear. It needed help. Elias stood and gently guided the figure toward the nearest observation deck. The platform overlooked the icy planet below, its surface glowing faintly under the light of a distant sun. Snowstorms raged endlessly on that world, carving patterns in frozen plains that no human had ever touched. But up here in the station's warmth, Elias felt a different kind of storm, the storm of fear in another being. He spoke softly as they walked. "We'll get you somewhere warm, food, water, safety, do you understand?" The figure tilted its head. It seemed to understand, or at least to sense that he meant no harm. By the time they reached the observation deck, other crew members had begun to notice. Whispers spread quickly. Humans were not unaccustomed to encountering alien life in the outer sectors, but this was different. This creature had not arrived on a research mission or a diplomatic vessel. It had appeared suddenly, trembling and alone in the middle of the station's corridors. "Doctor." Lyra, a xenobiologist, hurried forward. Her eyes widened as she took in the creature. "Captain Elias, did you?" He nodded. "It was cold, shivering. I gave it my jacket." Lyra's face softened. "Of course, you always know what to do." Elias smiled faintly. "Sometimes it's not about knowing what to do, it's about doing the right thing." Lyra approached the alien cautiously, extending a hand. "I'm Lyra, I want to help too." The alien froze again, unsure, but Elias gently guided it forward. "It's okay," he said. "She wants to help." Slowly, hesitantly, the creature stepped closer. Its eyes met Lyra's, and for a moment the fear seemed to fade, replaced by curiosity. The alien sniffed the air, took in the warmth of the observation deck, and even allowed a small smile to flicker across its face. For Elias, that smile was everything. Humanity had faced countless challenges in space, hostile environments, dangerous anomalies, and even encounters with other species. But the simplest gestures often made the biggest difference. A jacket, a kind word, a patient hand, these things could bridge worlds. Lyra placed a hand on her heart. "She's frightened," she said softly. "But I think she trusts us." Elias nodded. "Trust is everything, especially here." They led the alien to a temporary quarters designed for first contact. Soft lights, heated floors, and simple furniture made it feel more like home than a sterile research chamber. The alien hesitated at the threshold, then stepped inside. Elias draped his jacket carefully over a chair, then gestured to Lyra. "She'll need food, water, something familiar if we can figure out what that is." Lyra knelt beside the alien, pulling out a small tray of protein gels and water capsules. The creature sniffed them cautiously, then hesitated. Elias knelt nearby. "Take your time," he said. "No rush, you're safe." Hours passed. The alien ate slowly, drank water, and explored the small room. Its movements became less jerky, less frightened. It studied the human tools, the glowing monitors, and even the simple furniture. Each time it looked at Elias or Lyra, a small connection sparked. By the time the station's evening lights dimmed, the alien had stopped trembling entirely. It sat quietly, gazing out the observation window at the swirling storms on the icy planet below. Elias and Lyra watched it, silently acknowledging the miracle of the moment. "Captain," Lyra said, "do you think she's alone?" Elias shook his head. "I don't know, maybe, maybe not. But right now it doesn't matter. She's here, she's safe, and that's what counts." The alien turned to Elias, large silver eyes reflecting the soft lights. It reached out a delicate hand. Hesitantly, Elias took it. Warmth spread through his fingers, not from heat but from the silent bond forming between them. He smiled. "We'll figure this out together." And for the first time since she arrived, the alien smiled fully. A soft, trembling smile that held fear, curiosity, and relief all at once. Humanity's touch, simple, patient, and compassionate, had reached across the stars. Outside, the storms raged. Inside, a small heart found comfort. And somewhere in the quiet of the observation deck, Captain Elias realized something profound. No matter how vast the universe, human kindness was a force that could not be measured, only felt. For the alien, a simple jacket had saved more than its body. It had saved its hope. And in that hope, humanity shone brighter than any star. The morning lights of Aurora Station shone through the observation deck, reflecting off the icy planet below. The storm still raged across the frozen plains, but inside the station, warmth had returned. Captain Elias sat in a quiet corner, watching the alien as it explored its temporary quarters. The creature, still trembling occasionally, moved with curiosity now instead of fear. Its silver skin reflected the soft glow of the room, giving it an almost magical appearance. "Doctor." Lyra entered quietly, carrying a small digital tablet. "Captain," she said, "I think we need to start learning how to communicate with her." Elias nodded. "Yes, words will take time, but humans have ways. We're good at understanding without words." Lyra smiled. "Exactly. Observation, patience, gestures, even a smile can mean a lot, but we should start structured learning as soon as possible." The alien turned its head at the sound of her voice, tilting it curiously. Elias held out his hand. "She's watching us, learning." "Already trying to understand." Lyra nodded. "Let's begin." They moved to a larger room designed for interaction. It had a central table, soft chairs, and several monitors that could display images, sounds, and symbols. On one wall, a holographic globe of the galaxy rotated slowly, showing star systems, planets, and nebulae. The alien's eyes widened at the rotating lights. Elias and Lyra set up a small experiment. They placed a fruit, something the alien had never seen, on the table. Elias picked up an orange. "This is an orange," he said, speaking slowly and clearly. He peeled it, showing the inside, then handed it carefully to the alien. The alien stared at it, sniffing the bright scent cautiously. It made soft, unfamiliar noises. Elias waited, remaining calm. He knew humans could show patience that few other species could match. Lyra held up a small board with symbols. Each symbol represented an object: water, food, warmth, and safety. She pointed to the orange on the table, then to the symbol. The alien's large eyes focused on the board, then back at the fruit. Slowly, it reached a trembling hand and touched the symbol, then the orange. "That's it," Lyra whispered. "She's connecting the symbol to the object. She's learning." Elias nodded. Humans have always learned this way. Observation first, trial next, understanding last. That's how we survive and thrive in any environment. Over the next few hours, the alien began to mimic their gestures. When Elias pointed to himself and said, "I," the creature hesitated, then tapped its chest. When Lyra pointed to it and said, "You," the alien finally tapped its own chest with confidence. Small victories like these filled the room with a quiet joy. As the alien grew more comfortable, it began experimenting on its own. It picked up a small tool designed for scientists, turning it over and observing it. Its large eyes were filled with curiosity. Elias watched closely, realizing that this curiosity was the core of humanity's strength. Humans had always faced the unknown, always explored, always questioned. And now, this creature, so fragile and frightened just a day ago, was beginning to do the same. By midday, they had established a basic understanding. Simple gestures, symbols, and images were enough to communicate needs: food, water, rest, warmth. But emotions, fear, sadness, joy, were harder to convey. Elias knew that words might never fully translate those feelings, but humans had a special skill: empathy. He decided to try something different. He took the alien's hand and guided it toward a soft mat near the window. "Rest," he said, pointing to the mat. Then he placed his hand over his heart and smiled gently. The alien mimicked him, placing its hand over its chest. Lyra watched, amazed. She's starting to understand emotion, not words, but feeling. Over the next few days, small routines formed. The alien would follow Elias and Lyra through the corridors, observing their tasks. It learned how to operate simple machines, how to carry trays without spilling, and how to move carefully through the station's narrow passages. Each step was slow, careful, and deliberate, but each step was progress. One afternoon, a minor technical problem arose in the observation deck. A monitor flickered and displayed incorrect data. The alien froze, unsure what to do. Elias knelt beside it. "It's okay," he said calmly. "Mistakes happen, we fix them together." The alien watched as Elias tapped and adjusted the controls, explaining each step through gestures. Then Lyra guided the alien's hand to press a button. The monitor stabilized. The alien let out a small sound, a mix of relief and excitement. "That's it," Lyra said softly. "She's learning how to solve problems just like humans do." Elias smiled. "Problem solving is human nature. It's how we survive and thrive, and now she's learning it too." The bond between them grew stronger. The alien began to imitate human expressions, smiling, frowning, tilting its head in curiosity. Sometimes it would reach out and touch Elia's jacket, the one he had given her the first day. A silent acknowledgement that the gesture mattered, a simple act of kindness that built trust. Elias reflected quietly. Humans had always faced the unknown with courage and patience. They had always been capable of care, even in the harshest conditions. And here, in the middle of a cold, distant station, their qualities were bridging a gap no one had expected. By evening, Lyra suggested a small experiment. "Let's try storytelling," she said. She drew simple pictures on the tablet: a sun, a planet, a human figure planting seeds. Elias narrated slowly, pointing to each image. "Humans plant seeds, seeds grow into food, humans care for life." The alien's eyes widened. It tapped the images in sequence, then pointed to itself and the humans in the story. Lyra gasped softly. "She's understanding the concept." "She understands care, nurturing, even responsibility." Elias nodded, proud. "That's what humans do best. We survive, but not alone. We survive together, and we help others survive too." The alien looked out the window at the icy planet, then back at the humans. Its gaze lingered on Elia's jacket, still draped over a chair. Slowly, carefully, it reached out and touched the fabric. Elias smiled. "It's yours," he said softly. "A gift to keep you warm." The alien's eyes shimmered with emotion. It pressed the jacket to its chest, then looked at Elias and Lyra. A single tear ran down its cheek, the first tear of trust, gratitude, and understanding. For the first time, the alien expressed a deep emotion without words. Humans understood instinctively. Elias realized then that this was more than learning a language. It was learning humanity. The patience, empathy, and care that humans showed were not just tools, they were the bridge between worlds. As the night fell over Aurora Station, the alien sat quietly between Elias and Lyra. They shared the warmth of the room, the glow of the monitors, and the simple connection that only humans could provide. Outside, storms raged, but inside, life and hope flourished. Elias reflected on the days ahead. Communication would grow more complex. The alien would learn faster, but there would be challenges, misunderstandings, frustration, fear. Yet he knew that humanity had faced the unknown countless times, and always prevailed through patience, empathy, and ingenuity. And now the alien would learn the same lesson, that even in the vast, cold universe, trust, care, and kindness could shine brighter than any star. Lyra whispered, "She's becoming part of our family in her own way." Elias nodded. "Yes, and that's what makes humans strong, not just our strength or knowledge, but our ability to connect, to care, to teach, and to inspire. That's who we are." The alien pressed its hand to the jacket again, then gently to Elia's hand. A silent gesture of thanks, a gesture that meant more than any words could say. In the quiet glow of Aurora Station, humanity's essence, its empathy, patience, and courage, was teaching an alien a new way to see the universe. And for the first time in this strange, distant place, the alien understood what it meant to feel safe, cared for, and connected. Outside, the storms continued. Inside, the heart of humanity beat strong. Aurora Station usually hummed with calm efficiency, a controlled rhythm in the vast silence of space. The crew moved along its corridors with purpose, conducting research, monitoring the icy planet below, and maintaining life support systems. But today, an unusual tension vibrated through the station. Captain Elias walked down the observation corridor, flanked by Dr. Lyra and the alien they now called Nira, a name chosen after observing her repeated gestures toward a small constellation visible from the station. Nira had learned many human behaviors, but the unknown remained daunting. Her silver skin glimmered faintly under the artificial lights, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and a hint of lingering fear. Elias had been monitoring unusual energy readings from the planet below. Sensors indicated high plasma activity in the upper atmosphere, storms unlike any recorded before. Aurora Station was designed to withstand most hazards, but this anomaly was unpredictable. "Captain," Lyra said, "these readings, they're different from normal storms. If they intensify, they could overload the station's shields. We might need to initiate emergency protocols." Elias nodded. "Understood, let's keep her calm and safe. Panic won't help anyone." He glanced at Nira. She was watching the console, her large eyes reflecting the flashing lights of the warning indicators. Elias reached out and took her hand gently. "It's okay, Nira. We'll handle this together." Nira tilted her head, her hand tightening slightly around his. She understood enough to sense the urgency, though the danger was still abstract. Elias smiled reassuringly. "We solve problems step by step together." The plasma storm arrived faster than expected. Outside the observation windows, the planet's surface flared with energy, streaks of purple and blue dancing across the icy plains. Aurora Station shuddered slightly as its shields absorbed the first waves of electromagnetic interference. Crew members hurried to their stations, checking monitors, stabilizing systems, and preparing for contingencies. Elias led Nira to the central control hub. "Stay close, follow our instructions, trust us." Nira nodded, mimicking his gestures. Her trust in humans had grown steadily, but she still glanced nervously at the flashing lights. Elias could feel her fear, yet also her willingness to learn, to adapt, to act. Humanity thrived in the unknown. This was another chance to show it. Lyra tapped commands on the main console. "We need to reroute auxiliary power to the shields. The main conduits are overloaded. It's risky, but it's our best chance." Elias looked at Nira. "Can you help? I'll guide you." The alien hesitated but nodded. Humans didn't just command, they taught. They made her feel capable. Elias pointed to a control panel. "Touch this, press here." Nira's hand trembled as she followed his instructions. The panel beeped. A minor alarm sounded. She flinched. Elias placed his hand over hers. "It's okay, mistakes happen. Fixing them is part of learning." Her fingers pressed the buttons again, this time more confidently. The alarm stopped. A small, relieved sound escaped her throat. Elias smiled. "Good, you see, you can do this." For the next few hours, Aurora Station became a symphony of tension and teamwork. Nira assisted wherever she could, mimicking human actions, pushing levers, monitoring readings, and even improvising small solutions. She learned quickly, understanding that humans not only survived but thrived under pressure. At one point, a critical shield panel flickered and began to fail. A surge of energy threatened to knock out the station's systems. Elias assessed the problem immediately. "We need to replace the plasma regulator manually. It's dangerous but necessary." Neera's eyes widened. "I help?" she asked, her voice faint but eager. Elias nodded. "Yes, we'll do it together, step by step. Follow me." He led her through a narrow maintenance corridor, dimly lit and humming with energy. Sparks flickered from damaged conduits, and the air smelled faintly of ozone. Neera flinched at the sparks but stayed close. Elias guided her hand, showing her which components to stabilize first. Her fingers were delicate but precise, mimicking his movements perfectly. Lyra monitored them from the control room. "Captain, she's learning faster than I expected. Her responses are remarkable." Elias grunted softly. "That's humans for you. We don't just act, we teach. We inspire, and she's learning from the best." Neera completed the final adjustments to the plasma regulator. A bright flash of energy surged through the panel, then stabilized. The station's alarms ceased. Neera exhaled, a long, shaky breath that was half relief, half exhilaration. She turned to Elias and Lyra, eyes shining. Elias smiled. "You did it, all of us together. That's how humans survive, together." As the storm subsided, the crew breathed easier. Aurora Station had weathered the plasma storm, but the test had revealed something far more important than survival. Humans had the ability to remain calm under pressure, to teach, to guide, and to inspire trust in even the most terrified beings. Neera had learned not just to follow instructions, but to understand the principles behind them: adaptability, reasoning, and confidence. She was no longer just a frightened alien. She was becoming a part of the human experience, learning what it meant to face the unknown without fear. Elias guided Neera back to the observation deck. She moved more steadily now, her confidence growing with every step. She paused at the window, watching the fading storm, the icy plains glowing in the soft light. Her hands, once trembling, now rested lightly on the railing. Lyra joined them. "She's learning more than we thought. She understands now, not just instructions, but intention. Humanity teaches through action, not just words. That's why she trusted us." Elias nodded. "We survive in the stars not because we're strong or fast, but because we care, because we teach, because we act with patience and empathy. And she's learning it too." Neera turned her large, expressive eyes to Elias. Slowly, she reached out and touched his jacket, the one he had given her when she first arrived. It was a silent gesture of gratitude and connection, a recognition that trust and care were more powerful than fear. Elias placed a hand gently on hers. "It's yours, a reminder that you're not alone. Humans don't leave anyone behind." The alien blinked, a single tear forming in her eye. Elias understood immediately. This small act of care, so simple yet so profound, had reached across the boundaries of species, teaching something no words could convey. Lyra smiled. "She's not just learning human knowledge, she's learning human heart." Elias looked out the observation window, watching the icy planet below. "And that heart," he said softly, "is what will guide her in the universe. That's the power of humanity. We survive, we thrive, and we inspire even in the coldest, most distant places." The crew spent the evening reviewing the storm's data and teaching Neera more complex concepts. She learned about energy flow, planetary weather patterns, and emergency protocols. Each lesson strengthened the bond between human and alien, showing that knowledge combined with empathy could bridge the widest gaps. By the time night fell over Aurora Station, Neera had begun to show a small spark of independent thought. She rearranged tools efficiently, anticipated certain steps in the procedures, and even corrected minor errors in the system before humans noticed. Elias watched her silently. Humanity had always been explorers, inventors, and problem solvers. But what made them extraordinary was not just their intelligence. It was their patience, empathy, and ability to inspire trust. And now, Neera was beginning to carry that spark within her. As they all stood together, gazing out at the icy world below, Elias whispered, "The universe can be harsh, unpredictable, even frightening. But humans can turn fear into understanding, panic into action, and strangers into family. That's our greatest strength." Neera pressed her hand lightly against Elias again, her eyes reflecting both the storms outside and the warmth she had found inside. It was more than trust. It was a silent promise, a promise that no matter what challenges came next, she would face them with the lessons of humanity guiding her. And in that moment, in the quiet glow of Aurora Station, Captain Elias understood something profound. Humanity's greatest achievement was not conquering space, but conquering fear with care, courage, and connection. Outside, the plasma storm had passed. But inside, a new bond had formed, one that could withstand any storm the universe would send. Aurora Station returned to a quieter rhythm after the plasma storm. The crew worked steadily, checking systems, repairing minor damage, and logging every anomaly. Outside, the icy planet still stretched endlessly, glowing faintly under the distant sun, its snowstorms now just swirling patterns in the thin atmosphere. But inside the station, the atmosphere was charged with curiosity and anticipation. Something was about to happen, something that would test not their fear but their humanity. Captain Elias stood in the observation deck, Nira by his side. She had grown more confident with each passing day, moving fluidly among the humans and mimicking their gestures with ease. Her silver skin glimmered softly under the lights, and her large eyes held a calm focus. But today, curiosity burned brighter than ever. The alien's gaze was fixed on a strange anomaly on the planet below, a glimmer in the ice, irregular and unnatural. Doctor. Lyra joined them, tablet in hand. Captain, the scans indicate something unusual beneath the ice. A structure, or perhaps a vessel of some kind. It predates any known civilization in this sector. The readings suggest it could be very old, maybe thousands of years. The plasma storm may have revealed it. Her voice carried a mixture of excitement and caution. Elias nodded slowly. It's worth investigating, but we must proceed carefully. Unknown technology, alien or otherwise, can be unpredictable. He glanced at Nira. And this will be your first real exploration beyond the station. Are you ready? Nira hesitated for only a moment. She had learned to trust humans, and the confidence she had gained allowed her to nod. Elias smiled gently. Step by step, we'll go together. The team prepared an expedition shuttle, one designed for careful exploration rather than speed. Elias, Lyra, and Nira boarded, accompanied by 2 technicians for support. The shuttle lifted smoothly from Aurora Station, gliding over the icy plains below. Nira watched everything intently, her eyes reflecting the frozen landscape, the faint glow of the ice, and the distant storm clouds that had calmed overnight. As they approached the anomaly, the sensors revealed more details. A partially buried structure, metallic yet weathered, with markings that hinted at intelligent design. Elias and Lyra exchanged glances. The possibilities were staggering. This could be a discovery that reshaped understanding of life in this sector. Prepare for landing, Elias instructed. Keep communications open and stay alert, but remember patience. Curiosity doesn't need to rush. Nira observed silently, her hand lightly resting on Elias' jacket, her anchor in this strange, cold world. She had learned that humans had ways of guiding, teaching, and protecting, and this knowledge had given her confidence. Her trust was no longer blind. It was informed, earned by countless small acts of care. The shuttle touched down on the icy surface with a soft crunch. The structure loomed above them, its surface scarred by time yet unmistakably artificial. Elias and Lyra led the way, with Nira closely following. She studied every detail, the patterns etched into the metal, the way the structure rose from the ice, and the subtle hum that emanated from within. Humans had taught her observation, patience, and careful movement. She applied all of them instinctively. As they approached the entrance, Lyra examined the markings. Captain, these are symbols, but not like any we've seen before. They may represent communication, history, or technology, and the material, it's durable, possibly self-repairing. Her voice carried awe. This is extraordinary. Elias nodded, keeping a watchful eye on Nira. It's more than just a discovery, it's an opportunity for learning. And remember, we don't just explore, we understand and respect. Nira stepped forward, tentatively touching the surface of the structure. Her fingers traced the grooves of the markings, and for the first time she emitted a sound that was almost like a sigh, a mix of recognition and awe. Elias noticed immediately. She recognizes it, he said quietly. Not the meaning, but the importance. She senses its value. Lyra smiled. Humans taught her to observe, to learn, and to care, and now she is understanding the world in ways even we are just beginning to grasp. Inside the structure, the team discovered a chamber partially filled with artifacts and devices. Some appeared technological, others ceremonial. Holographic projections flickered faintly, responding to their presence. Elias guided Nira carefully, showing her how to interact with the controls. With gentle gestures, he encouraged her to press a panel. Light filled the room as the holographic interface activated, revealing images of star systems, planets, and beings of diverse shapes and forms. Nira's eyes widened. She pointed at one image repeatedly, then back at the humans as if asking a question. Elias understood. She wanted to know, to comprehend. He explained slowly, pointing at the images and tracing paths between the stars. This shows civilizations, some lost, some alive, connections, movement. Life, Nira mirrored the gestures, following along with remarkable precision. Lyra whispered, "She's learning at a pace humans rarely achieve, not because she's fast, but because she trusts, observes, and applies what she sees. That's human teaching in action." Hours passed as the team explored. Nira assisted in activating devices, interpreting symbols through gesture, and even anticipating some of the patterns they needed to follow. Every action was a reminder of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to teach, inspire, and guide others, even in the most unfamiliar circumstances. Finally, they reached a central chamber. At its heart was a pedestal holding a small crystalline device glowing faintly with energy. It pulsed gently, responding to the presence of life around it. Elias knelt, examining the device. "This is remarkable. It's old but active. It may contain knowledge, history, even maps of the galaxy." Nira approached slowly, hesitating only briefly before placing a hand near the crystal. Her eyes reflected wonder and awe. Elias smiled. "Humans have always sought to understand, and now she seeks too." Lyra added, "And she will remember. This is learning, connection, growth. Humanity has given her that gift." When they returned to the shuttle, Nira carried a small fragment of the crystal carefully in her hands. It was a symbol, a reminder, and a lesson. Knowledge and care were not separate but intertwined. Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "What we discovered isn't just a structure, it's a lesson, and you learned it step by step together." Nira looked out at the icy planet below, holding the crystal fragment close. The storms had passed, the anomaly revealed, and the vast universe stretched endlessly before them. She had begun her journey from fear and trembling to trust and curiosity. Humanity had guided her, not through force, but through patience, care, and understanding. Back at Aurora Station, the artifact was carefully secured. The crew documented every observation, every pattern, every holographic projection. But Elias knew that the most important discovery was not the ancient technology. It was Nira herself. She was learning what humans had always known. Empathy, patience, trust, and courage were stronger than fear. That night, Nira returned to the observation deck, placing the crystal fragment on the table. She touched Elia's jacket briefly, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had brought her here safely. Lyra observed quietly, smiling. "She understands now," she said softly. "Not just the structure, but humanity." Elias nodded. "Yes, and that's the greatest discovery we could ever make. Not technology, not artifacts, but connection, care, the ability to teach, guide, and inspire. That is the human way, and she is learning it." The icy planet outside reflected the distant stars, but inside Aurora Station, something brighter shone, the light of understanding, hope, and shared discovery. Nira had grown from trembling fear into confident curiosity. And humanity, in its simple acts of patience and empathy, had shown her the way forward. The universe was vast and full of mysteries yet to be revealed. But one thing was certain: wherever Nira went, the lessons of humanity, its courage, care, and wisdom, would travel with her. And that, Captain Elias knew, was the true power of being human.